Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Wife for Life with none other than your favorite marriage specialist, Michelle McElroy. And today I have another phenomenal woman for you, none other than Alexis Jones. Give it up for Alexis, everybody. Yay! Hey, Alexis.
Hi, Michelle. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yay, I'm excited to have you because, man, I know about you, but everybody else doesn't necessarily know about you. And girl, they are in for a treat. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I'm Alexis. I am married to Daquan Jones. He is number 92 on the Buffalo Bills. He's a defensive lineman. We met in college. We both went to Penn State. So I'm a Northern girly. And then he got drafted in 2014 to the Titans. And so we played in Tennessee. We moved to Nashville. This is our 12th NFL season, so we are very seasoned and hopefully retiring soon. Fingers crossed. We have two beautiful babies. Maya, she's 5. She's starting kindergarten this year up in Buffalo. So we are super excited. She cannot wait to ride the school bus. That's all she can talk about, and I'm nervous. And then I have a son. His name is Jace. He's 2, and he's our handful child. He wakes up and is on go till the time he goes to bed. So he keeps us all on our toes. And yeah, and then I'm from up north, they said Pennsylvania, Philadelphia, born and raised. I actually went to college to be a nurse. So I was a hospice nurse prior to starting my own technology company. And then during the pandemic, I did like a little switch from hospice nursing because I just had our daughter and I did not know what that would look like to do nursing during a pandemic, especially in that area of hospice. So saw this need in the industry and realized that no one else was out there doing it. So I became an entrepreneur and I had no aspiration on how, but that's kind of the little story behind how I started Snapback Returns, which is my technology company. So I am completely 180 different field, but I'm loving it. I'm loving the adventure. And yeah, it's a little bit about me.
Oh my goodness. Okay. We are going to get back to that transition from one field to another.
Yeah.
But I would imagine some people would say, wait a minute. Not only did her husband get to play in the NFL, but 12 years in, and she's saying, hopefully we retire. What is that about? So explain to everybody why that is something that is desirable after playing 12 years.
Yes. So, like when you start, I mean, especially as a defensive tackle, like NFL is known for not for long. And, when we got in, it was like, oh, you're lucky to finish your rookie contract, which is 4 years. And then, he was like, oh, I just want to get to, finish out my next contract and your next. And then you start like creating these little goals. And then, he's like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if I made it to 10? And it's not likely that you're asked and getting paid to be in the NFL for that long, especially at that like position where it's constant contact. Like when you hear 12, you're thinking like punter or long snappers. Like it's really not defensive tackles. So like for him, we've been super blessed and lucky. Minor injuries along the way, but still like he's been very healthy and he's been making a lot of great relationships, but we are I think we're just at the point where we realize we're getting older and nobody likes being the old person in the room. Like I feel like I like cringe and I'm like, I'm only 32, but I'm like old girl there. And we're kind of just at that point where it's nice because like he could potentially do that on his terms, which a lot of NFL players really don't get that opportunity. The NFL tells you when they're done with you, not the other way around. So like to just be able to keep going and then being like, okay, I think this may be like final for me is just such an amazing accomplishment. And then also we can prepare for that next phase. Like I think then the past couple of years we've been, prepping for what's next and what does that world look like and how does that transition look like, which a lot of people don't get to like prep and we've been prepping. And so, yeah, we're just kind of like, okay, fingers crossed last year, unless he does like some crazy stat and he's like, feels like a Mr. Incredible, like I think his body and the universe is telling us we're done. So,
Okay, so we got the, hopeful retirement thing out the way. And yes, it's a blessing, but when that body says, enough is enough is enough, And I'm so happy that you guys are in a position that very few get to have, which is to get to walk away and feel like you've done all you wanted to do in this career. That in itself is a huge blessing that I feel personally helps the player walk away from the game mentally and emotionally still intact. You know what
yeah.
I'm saying?
Mhm.
Because when the game is done with them before they're done with the game, a lot of them struggle with that. Even if they played 10 years, but they still felt like they got it in them to play, that's
Mhm.
a very difficult transition for them. So I'm happy for y'all that you get to be one of the few and maybe even be able to help some others on their journey futuristically. So that's the benefit of being the senior.
Yeah,
The
that's
senior
true.
at 30.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But speaking of transition, I'd like to get a little background. You said you went into nursing, and I know there's some credentialing required to do that. What's your education background?
Yes, so I went to Penn State, and I got my BSN in nursing. So I graduated, took the NCLEX here in Tennessee. We live in Nashville, and so yeah, I became a registered nurse, and I knew through clinicals that I could not work with babies or maternity is not my thing or my people my mother's age weren't like the kindest. So I was like, you know what? I love older people. I think like they live their life. They deserve to be upset and grouchy. They can't hurt my feelings. So it kind of like just was very natural for me to go into the hospice like rehabilitation side of nursing. So that's what I started out doing.
Wow. Wow. What a focal point. And that's beautiful in itself to desire to do that because even as you mentioned, when they get older, like I saw that evolution of my great uncle and my grandmother.
Mm.
And man, that was really hard to see because my grandmother was so kind and loving and gentle. But, certain ways you may touch them or handle them, they just didn't always like. And yeah, it was rough. You kind of lose the freedom of doing things on your own terms. And that's understandable. You feel
Yeah.
upset about that.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, "You know what? You're 80, 90 years old, like, who am I to tell you anything? Like, you just tell me what world you're living in, and I'll try to acclimate to that world." And that's the least I could do, honestly.
Oh, that's so beautiful. And that tells me a lot about you and your spirit, and what resides in you, because that's a service industry.
Yeah.
And to be able to serve our seniors, I feel like other countries do a better job at taking care of their seniors than we do in the United States. And I would love to see that be better. So,
Me too. Me too. We still got a lot of work.
yeah, for sure. But in all of that, thank you for your service. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, you spoke about well, I don't know if that was in your intro or no, I think that was just you and I where you spoke about the why you transitioned from nursing to being a business owner or entrepreneur.
Mhm.
Tell us a little bit about the background story to that transition.
Yeah. So so I had my daughter in 2019, December of 2019. So I was pre-COVID. And then COVID hit and um it wasn't like I needed to go back to nursing. Like I know many women need to go back to their field and, continue to work, but it that just wasn't the reality for me. And hospice nursing, it's like, okay, everyone's dying. That's all you see on TV. So that's the last thing I want to do. And then not be a at that point, I was a first time mom too. So I'm like, I don't want to come home and you can't hang out with your baby and you don't know what this crazy virus is and all the things. So that like really played a big part. So I took took a step back from nursing. And I as a new mom, I was online shopping a lot. And I think that's kind of like where the pandemic like really changed the way shoppers are today is like now everyone went online. Like everything that was like a boutique, they're like, well, the only way to make money during the pandemic since nobody could leave their house is bring everything online. So I saw how easy it was for me to get like next day delivery and same day shipping and Amazon always at our door. And then I was like, well, being a new mom, I'm like, I'm always ordering something new because you don't know your kid's growing like a weed. I'm like, what is happening? I didn't know I needed this. So I'm buying all this stuff. And then my returns pile started like building up in my living room or in the trunk of my car. I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah, I'll get to it. And I realized that like that was just one errand like I would put off and never do was return unwanted items that I purchased. No matter if Amazon makes it super easy. It's like if you go to Whole Foods, you go to Kohl's, you go to UPS, it's like, yeah, you could do all that, but still I'm not doing it. Like I don't know about you, but that just wasn't it's just not something I love to do. So
I feel you on that. I hate returns. I
yeah.
hate returns
It
and probably have wasted so much money because I did not return things.
so that's exactly what it was. So I was like, I wonder how much money people are wasting. And then I was asking other people if they had this problem. And I actually went online thinking, well, in this world of convenience, like we have Uber, we have DoorDash, Instacart, like there's so many like convenient apps that I don't have to go in store. I was like, I want someone to just come and pick up my returns for me and like take it back. Like that's all I want you to do. And I just want to save money. And then I don't have to hear my husband be like, look at all these boxes. And you're shopping at Amazon again. Like if I could just get it out, then like
Right?
I don't have to hear him. So I Googled it and I was like, oh, there's nothing out there. So that's kind of where my wheels started turning. And I got into like creating a company that literally does doorstep return pickup. So um I knew it had to be an app. So basically what has evolved, it's been a long grind since 2020 was like the year of like conceptualizing the idea and business planning and because I'm not a business person. I never thought I would start my own company. Like nursing has always been like my path. So I was playing a lot of catch up. Like I had no idea what I was getting myself into and I still don't know what I'm getting myself into. I kind of just, I just say yes to it all and we see what happens. But yeah, I like basically at this point I created a mobile app. It syncs with your email, organizes all of your online shopping. We remind you when they're due for return. And then we actually integrate with doorstep return pickup. So you leave your package outside, you can schedule a pickup, and they return back to like UPS, FedEx, USPS for you. So you don't miss a return window.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And so I'm assuming that online you put your account information in and they just credit your account automatically. Is that how that works?
Well, because you're returning through the retailer, they just refund back your card. So as soon as like the shipping label's on there and we actually integrate with DoorDash. So a DoorDash driver is coming. So I don't own like a logistics fleet. I don't like own vehicles or anything like that. I'm just the tech platform, but
Yeah.
they come to your house and when take it back to FedEx, FedEx scans it. That tells them, hey, Nordstrom, Alexis Jones returned this blazer, and then they initiate the return back to like my credit card.
I love that.
Hey.
seriously, that's genius. I mean, because man, to own a fleet, that's too much. That's a lot, especially for a mother of 2 young, that's enormous. And then you wanna duplicate this in other states and you know what I mean? But
Right. Mhm.
to partner with DoorDash, girl, that's brilliant.
Thank you. Thank
Um,
you. It's come a long way.
yeah, I mean, as with any business though, So, do you have a team of people that are helping you conceptualize this and bring it to life?
Yeah, so, the team has changed over the years, like, the people that I needed, I've had, one, Melissa, she, like, really helped me, like, kinda get my business mind developed, like, she was there really at the beginning stages, really helped me understand, like, what I needed in play to get things moving, and still, like, a really, really good friend of mine, but helped me from that beginning stages. But the team that I have now, like I have 2 ex DoorDash employees that are now on like my founding team. I have developers, I have marketing people. Like we really are this next phase of the app is like it's launched in the app store so people can use it. We've done a lot of using user testing, so things that we like didn't know that a customer may need in the checkout process, so we're constantly like iterating on things. So yeah, we're pushing it out to nationwide, but finding who our ideal customer is right now, so that's like our main focus.
Nice. And so when you say nationwide, I'm just wanting to make sure that we all understand as listeners and
Mhm.
viewers of the podcast. Does that mean anybody in any one of the 50 states can go on to the app and
Yep. So you have to have Apple, so
oh,
we're not on
Android?
Internet yet, but, yet. But we are on the Apple Store, and then you have to have Gmail initially because so you have to shop on with your Gmail, but
Mhm.
those are the only requirements. But if you have DoorDash in your area, then you have Snapback in your area.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. That is so phenomenal. So, just so people know, the app, tell us how they could get the app.
Yeah, so you just, go onto the App Store and down and type in Snapback returns, and then it's like a white and purple. Purple's my favorite color, so everything's purple. But it's a purple little snap, of the finger is our icon, and you can download that and give it a try, and we're super hands-on, like, we're small, so and we're actually doing a big, like, design change to, because we did a lot of testing this past month, so by the time we're implementing those now, so you'll really get, like, the best features, coming up, so we're excited.
Okay, I love that. So, tell our listeners or our viewers who may be interested in making a career change, what advice would you give them in, doing that?
I guess the biggest thing is don't wait for someone else to do your idea. And you just have to do it because there's always going to be a reason not to. You're going to think you're not smart enough or there's somebody more qualified or a lot of the things is like you just have to have the right people around you and that believe in the same vision as you do and then you can make anything happen. Like, I have no background in technology. Like I said, I was a hospice nurse. I the last like, math class I took, I mean, I can't even tell you. Like, it's like, all of this coding, I've never coded, but you know what? You'll figure it out, right? Like, and instead of me waiting for someone else to do it, I just said, "Why not me?" Like,
Why not?
what's wrong with Alexis Jones figuring it out? And there's nothing wrong with that. And so I'm just betting on myself. And there's going to be a lot of people that are going to tell you their opinion or that it's not good or you need to do this, you need to do that. But like at the end of the day, the only opinion that matters is your own. So just
That
do it.
part.
Mhm.
Just do it. I love that. Man, so my next thought, if I'm listening and watching this, is how did you pick your team?
Oh gosh. And I'm gonna be very honest. Um, I did not have the best co-founder initially. I actually had to shut so Snapback Returns used to be Noted was my first company. This was back in like 2021 when I was like actually bringing the idea together, and I brought in a co-founder and things did not go well. And it just ended horribly, and instead of me allowing that to defeat me, I shut down the company. I gave and with when you have a software company, you don't own, it's not like you own a building and then you're like, "Oh, we can just sell it, and then you could take half and I can take half." Like, the only thing you own is intellectual property. So it's not like it's like, "What, you get this line of code and I get this line of code?" Like, that doesn't really do anything. So I had a choice and I gave her everything. And I walked away and I started completely new with a completely new team because I just didn't know who I could trust, could who was who really bought into my vision and what I really wanted this company to become. So I when I started new, what I did is I found people that had really no connection to who I am. I think the first time I brought in, like, too many, like, yes people that were, like, friends-ish with me,
Yeah.
or knew me in some type of capacity, whether that was, like, through my husband or, through my own network of people, but this time I really, like, through growing a business first, I met a lot of people along the way that I just was friendly with, and when I started Snapback, I kind of, like, reintroduced myself to them and was like, "Hey, this is something I'm building," and, I thought we had, like, a good intro, a good talk the first time, like, "W what are you thinking? Like, let's see what we could do together." And, I started completely new, but off of business relationships I built solely, um, by myself and not through, like, "Hey, I have a friend that does this. They would be really great for you," type of thing. And you're always going to find, like, there's always gonna be people that let you down. There's always gonna be people that say they can deliver on something that they can't or that they're probably unqualified for, but just, like, saying, like, "No, thank you," sooner is something I learned, like,
Wow.
now, and I just don't, like, allow things to drag out longer because I was, like, afraid to hurt people's feelings or, I was like, "Oh, man, that was a relationship that, like, my husband knew," and, like, whatever, but I was like, "You know what? I can't continue to do that, or it's not gonna be healthy." So, yeah, I think I just these are all people that, like, I met through work and people that I really connected with in certain aspects of their job, whether it was like product development or marketing. And then they all bought into Snapback Returns. They didn't buy into Alexis. They bought into the company and that company's vision. And I'm just like spearheading it. So, um, yeah, that's kind of like how it all developed. And now we're all working towards the same goal.
Yeah. That's a very inspiring story. Thank you for sharing that because, man, to have a total break off and have to go in another direction, and some people will, get caught up with, but no, I pour so much into this original, thought. But sometimes it's better to, as quickly as possible, cut tie and just move on and move forward because what God has for you, nobody can take away from you. It's that simple. And I just love your fortitude. Like, this is what's been deposited in me. This baby will be birthed. By this baby will be birthed. And I mean, literally inspirational. It's inspirational to hear this story because some of us, and I'm talking about me, but I know there are some people like me sometimes the smallest of things can discourage you so deeply that you become immobilized and maybe even just say, forget about it. Maybe that's not what God called me to do. And I never forget, there was a time in my relationship where I asked my husband, if there was one thing that you would change about me, what would that be? And that was it. He was like, when you encounter one issue or one wall, you make a decision that that was not what God wanted you to do versus pressing forward and pushing through with the understanding that sometimes we are going to hit walls when we're doing even something we feel God called us to do or something that we're very passionate about. But that's what builds strength and courage and all those other wonderful characteristics, that like fortitude and discipline that produce the end result, which is what you were going for in the first place. So I love people like you who inspire people like me to, push through and
Oh, yeah.
beauty on the other side of that. So thank you for that. Thank you for that so much. Um, so also when I thought about transitions, I thought about how we know each other and that we're both on the board of National Football Wives Association, which our main goal is to help football players and their wives, particularly their wives, um, to help them during moments of transition, whether that be transitioning to another team, heck, transitioning into being married to a football player, a professional athlete, which has its own, challenges, but also transitioning out of the league, transitioning into being a veteran on a team, all those different transitions that go on when you are a part of the National Football League. I'd like for you to share with us what's your role with NFWA, as we call it, and what you would like to contribute to the organization for the next generation of wives.
Yeah. So yes, we met creating NFWA, and I currently serve as the vice president. And one thing that really resonated with like why NFWA was important for me to be involved in was that throughout the 12 years that I'm like in the NFL, there's so much information that that's thrown at your husband. And, I started as a girlfriend and then a wife and then a mother. And even all through all of those stages, there are different it's kinda like I don't wanna say it's like leveling up, but it's like you get access to different things, right? So it's like, first you're just dating and, like, that's great and everything, and then but there's women organizations within each team that you can get involved in, and there's things that, in your house, like, the NFL can send police to, like, look at your security risks throughout the season and like go check out your house. Like there's so many little things that like even at that stage that you don't know about that are available to you and that you wish you knew sooner, right? And then you get married and then there's these benefits and that plays a big role in things like what are your health benefits and then like when you have kids healthy babies initiative is a lot what people don't know about and you get a check and you get another nurse and so there's all this information that like I feel like we should have easy access to that we just don't and some experiences are better than others like when I was with the Titans
Mhm.
we did a women's luncheon like every month and they showed us those things. Yeah, every month the Tennessee Titans put on a women's luncheon. Girls, wives, girlfriends, wives, whomever were invited. And they brought in someone that would talk about whatever topic it was. So I felt, and I was 7 years with the Titans. So, like, I was very handheld throughout the process. So I knew all of this stuff. Then we did this weird year in Carolina where they didn't even have a women's organization.
Mhm, mhm.
So I go there and I'm like, who's my who's my contact?" Right?
Who's
And
gonna help?
right, I was like, this is year 8 for me at that time, so I was like and then they called me and asked to meet with me to on how to develop their women's organization. So I'm like, "Oh, the state" and you don't know that in your own bubble, like, when, you're 7 years with one team, like, that's all I know, and I think that that's the standard until you get friends that go elsewhere, and then they tell you, like, "Oh, man, I wish I was back there, like, they don't do this, they don't do that," and I'm like, "Whoa, okay." And then, even a Bible study. I mean, the Titans had a Bible study. Elizabeth Hasselbeck was our Bible study leader, went to her house. I was very into that. Went to Carolina, no Bible study. I was like, "Oh." Now I'm back with the Bills, and it feels like the Titans again. They're very close, organized. I mean, we are in Buffalo, New York, so they kinda have to do a little little bit more, but they're very much so that same thing where they give you all this information, and I'm like, "This is this makes my experience really well, but I want it to be everyone's experience." Like,
Yeah.
it's not fair that I just got blessed on this team and with these people, and even, like, I mean, just this organization, if the GM, head coach leave, maybe that organization's no longer that same, like,
No.
strong, tight, close unit. Like, you could get put where people just don't care about a women's association, like, or don't care about the wives, like, that can be the reality, but I've been so lucky, so I'm like, when Amber Staples, who's the president, was, like, talking about this idea of, like, "Let's focus on transition," I was like, "Man, this is exactly what these women need. This is what they deserve, because it's hard already, and we just are like, this needs to be available to everyone across the NFL so that you're in a new city, you know how to acclimate to that city, you don't have to play catch up. You have like you feel like a sisterhood already there. So I think that that's like really important, but it's also like it's really hard too that what we're doing because like we're also trying to gather like 12 years worth of knowledge that I have and like and there's 10 of us on the board, like, so combined, how many years we have of, like, knowledge and bring it all down to, like, like a series or a handbook or an a like, there's so much that we're
Yeah.
trying to do,
Yeah.
but I think we're getting there. Like, we're figuring it out. We're trying to make women who are just experiencing maybe just, like, a little bit of like, you know, just this is hard or man, I'm entering this new city. I don't know. Just make it a little bit easier or to know exactly who to turn to. And I know like any one of us on our board would be like, we'll figure it out. We'll help you, sis. Like, we gotcha. So that's exactly what I hope translates when people come to our page or when people like hear us speaking about it, that they know like, man, my friend's going through a tough time. Let me see if NFWA has resources for them.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is a shame that all teams are not created equal. It would be wonderful if they had a model and every team. You know how you go to these home developments and they have maybe 1 to 4 models, that, but
Yeah,
you know, when you go in that community,
yeah.
and you're gonna be one of those 4 homes.
Mhm.
And so I kind of wish they had it like that because, um, we're the oldest on the board as far as in the league, and we just didn't have that. And our husbands were so bogged down with maintaining their position that they would get all this information, but if they didn't bring it home to us, so we could go through it, so we could understand it, so we could utilize it, then guess what? You were left in the dark and unaware of all these
Oh,
things.
mhm.
And the other thing is, I don't care if your spouse played in the NFL or your spouse did not. In my opinion, women are the nucleus of the home, and we have to be in the know of all things that impact the family. And because at the end of the day, if your husband is a professor at a university and he is the main source of income, and all of your insurance goes through his job. You see what I'm saying? And he loses his job. You need to be aware of all those resources that are available to you during and post
Oh,
is,
yeah.
you know, and so this stuff is translatable no matter what your spouse's career, just saying, for all
Oh, yeah.
viewers and viewers, but at the same time, I wish the league understood the value, the overall league understood the value in making sure that the wives get this information, or the wags, get
Oh,
this
yeah.
information, because I think it would help with the negative statistics post career as well, because we will be there to help them say, "Hey, did you know this was available to you? Did you know they'll help you find an encore career? Did you know they have people you could talk to about how you're feeling? Did you know there is a community available for retired did you know?"
Yeah.
So, those are things, that we could help them with if we are knowledgeable about. Otherwise, we're dealing with this person that may be going through severe depression because they got fired, and can't like get their job back. There was not an option of doing
Right.
it. And this is something they've been doing since they were 6, you know, for the past 20 years of their life. So,
Yes. Yeah.
you know, it would help us help them during that devastating time of their life. And I wish
Yeah.
we had more value to that. But I'm proud of us for doing it ourselves.
Yeah.
You know?
And that's exactly what we're doing. I feel like we brought in a really good group of ladies, very diverse backgrounds, that are able to add some type of knowledge at one point throughout. Like, I mean, Amber knows so much about the trust, and my husband is a PA rep, so NFL PA rep. So like we're constantly involved in those conversations, and like there's just like a little bit of each from everyone. It like really rounds it out, and then what we don't know, we find out because women, we don't figure it out.
We are going to figure it out.
Yeah.
That's what we do. We figure
Mhm.
it out. So high five to us. Figured it out. High five to all y'all too.
Exactly.
So now let's get into the relationship stuff. This is the juicy part of the interview. So, you guys met at Penn State, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so who chased who?
So, okay, so when I met him, it was funny. He was best friends with this girl that lived on my floor. They came in during the summer session. So I came in for the fall, and she was now living on my floor, and she's like, "Hey, do you want to go to a football players pregame party?" And I don't know anybody. I'm like, "Yeah, of course." Like, I'll go anywhere. Like, I'm just happy to make a friend. And it was his dorm room. Um, and he had a girlfriend at the time.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I was just young, wild, and free. I had no interest in anyone freshman year.
Right.
So, we were friends first, and, he lived his best life, and then they broke up. And then he wanted to date me. But with me, I'm very like, I'm so independent. I'm super independent. And I need a lot of like, softening when it comes to that. Like, I'm not very quick to ask people for like help or to make someone feel needed or wanted. And that is something I'm actively working through because I just feel like I was just raised very like you're strong, independent woman, which is like my mom's Hispanic. So I feel like a lot of Hispanic women are like that. So, so he pursued me for a long time. And then he eventually was like, "You know what? I can't be your friend. I can't do this. Like, we can't be friends. Like, I like you too much to be your friend." And so I was like, "Okay, fine." And I remember it being like 4th of July, 2011. And
Okay.
yeah, and I texted him and I was like, "I miss you," and then ever since then, we've been together, so,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So he made me, like, chase him a little bit, but nothing compared to what he was doing at the beginning.
Yeah, but really what he did was put his foot down instead of boundary, and and after a while you realize, "Wait a minute, something is missing."
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, I kinda miss him." I didn't realize how much we were like, you don't realize what you have really till it's gone, like, that is so true and so relatable. Um, but yeah, then I was like, "Man, I hope he forgives me," 'cause, like, he's a very he can cut people off pretty he's got some really strong boundaries type of guy. So, but yeah, thankfully he gave me another shot.
He went down her. He went down. He just wanted you to say yes. But
Yeah,
to him, because I think sometimes we get, and I'm talking women and men, we get so focused on what we want, we miss the fact that, we may not be starting this relationship off in a healthy way.
right.
And so, yeah, kudos to him. That's so and great that you had the wherewithal to recognize it and then put yourself back out there again.
Yeah.
Cool too, because both of y'all are great people. So it's good that that's established at the onset.
Yeah.
But okay, so you guys got married. You're what, 12, 14 years in? You said 2011 or
Yeah,
2012?
2011, so
Been married now.
we've been married since 2019, so 6 years.
Oh,
Mhm.
6 years. So tell me, I just wanna take a deep dive into it because, marriage comes with its challenges, and then on top of that, you add children to the mix, and that could bring its own challenges as well. Can you share with us a meaningful, challenge that you've had in your marriage that hopefully you've overcome or that you're in the process of overcoming that would be helpful for us to learn and grow from?
Yeah, so I think, like, one of the things for us is, like, we kinda grew up together, like, when we started dating, like, I am nowhere near who I was when I was, like, a teenager to, like, now being 32 years old, like, we've gone through life in our 20s and now and in our 30s together, so, I think it's really we're in couples therapy, we do individual and couples therapy. We're very open and honest about that. I don't think there's anything wrong with therapy. But I feel like the, we both don't communicate, um, well, like exactly when we're feeling it. Like we all almost think like, oh, it's just, we rationalize it like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
And but in reality, those things are just like you keep a mental note in the back of your head of like, "That kind of annoyed me," or "I didn't like how you did this." And instead of just having constructive conversation when it happens or like a space through in our day or in your week where you can say what you need to say uninterrupted and feel validated is something that like we've learned that we've needed, uh, in order to not let everything build up to a point where now I'm just exploding over the dishes, even though it has really nothing to do about the dishes. It's just I let everything go as though it wasn't a big deal, and now I'm upset. So, um, I think it was just because we've grown up together and like we lost a little bit of, like, always talking through everything. We kinda just were, like, internalizing it or being like, "Well, our kid is more important," or "This situation's more important," or "This mother-in-law or father-in-law situation is more important," instead of being like, "No, we are most important, and the conversations that we are having is really important, so we need to make time and space for that." And then also feel heard and respected when you do, um, say it, because for me, like, I'm I'm not like I'll shut down if I feel like, "Oh, you're not listening to me," or like, you're not hearing what I'm saying." I'll just stop talking and, like, pushing through. So, I think that's just something that we're learning or overcoming, um, through therapy. I mean, we didn't come with that on our own, but we knew like our communication could use some help.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's kind of something that we're working on and learning to communicate with the person that we are today and not who we were when we were 19 and 20.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of times when if you ask a random couple, what's the most important thing to know about marriage or to do in marriage, they'll say to communicate, right? But what happens when the communication goes wrong? That's the thing. It's so much more deeper than just communicating. It's, creating a safe space to communicate. But what I love what you're saying as well is making sure that you create time to
Yeah.
communicate. So, I'm a marriage coach, and as I work with my couples, I definitely suggest that they do. I always liken marriage to a business structure, because when we need to go to the doctor, we make an appointment. When you need to get your car repaired, you make an appointment. But when there's something wrong in our marriage, we tend to act impulsively and then expect to have this good outcome from
Right.
that communication, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So, what I usually suggest to them is to make an appointment and make sure that each party is aware of what the topic of discussion will be, because that will help hopefully diminish the natural response of defensiveness, right?
Yes.
Now you have had time to think out your thoughts, because I think, and I can't speak for anyone, I'll speak for myself. I know I become defensive when I have to think on the spot. Like, I'm in the moment. And so now I'm automatically going to, try to communicate opposing to what you're saying versus giving myself time for that to sink in. So when we make an appointment and my mind and my body is prepared for this conversation, sometimes I may write notes,
Yeah.
sometimes I may sit, and while we're having the discussion, he's sharing his thoughts or issues with me, I may write down what he's saying to me so it goes in my brain more than one time, But those are all things that we communicate in advance. But the most important thing is, like you said, create that space to have the discussion, instead of allowing the busyness of adulting to have
Yeah.
it. And make the appointment, say what
Yeah.
mind. Because otherwise, like I think you said, I shut down. Well, when it gets heightened, that's called flooding, and many of us shut down.
Right. Yeah.
And so even after you shut down, you still have to make the appointment when you can revisit that conversation.
Anyway.
You know? And that's what makes us feel seen and heard, and hopefully get to the point of understanding one another. So
Exactly.
kudos to you guys. I love that you're seeing a therapist. I love that. I started off in that area, but transition to coaching. And I absolutely love coaching because it gives me an opportunity to bring in my husband, and we can do, 2-on-2 coaching. And I find that the men absolutely enjoy feeling like they have an advocate in that space.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when we picked our couples counselor, we therapist, I was like, "Let's just pick a male." Like, cuz I don't need you to be like, she's always going to think you're right." I'm like, "Nope, let's just pick a male so that I'm already outnumbered." You know?
Sure. You smart. You are smart.
I thought about that.
That is brilliant. And there's more women than men in that field. And so that's another reason. I talked to my mentor. I love mentors, because my mentor, he actually had his own practice and sold it and went into coaching.
Oh,
And he
wow.
suggested that I do the same. And I was like, okay, I love this. And so, yeah, yeah, I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for
Yeah,
your
of course.
transparency and willingness to share.
Yeah.
So, just like you just mentioned, I did not want my podcast to be a space where men felt like we were male bashing or beating up on
Mhm.
them. But when, I created my podcast with the title "Wife for Life," it's because I want to see more successful marriages. My heart breaks knowing that we're still at 50%. We're still at
Yeah.
half of the marriages divorcing in our country, and I'd like to be a impact for change in this area. And sometimes it's small little incremental things that you can do to help that marriage survive. And since I'm a woman and you're a woman, I feel like that's my contribution is by helping wives be the best they can be. And that oftentimes starts with you working on yourself.
Mhm.
So, in that vein, I'd like to ask you, what are you doing to intentionally love on your husband?
Yeah, I think I know that there and I'm still working on it, but making him feel wanted is like a big thing for him and something that I struggle with where I like am super independent and I'll just do instead of like bringing him on and or like helping him or letting him in on those things or being like, no, I want you to come with me, even if it's like to the grocery store or like I want to go on this date with you or I want to do this. Like he'll and I like feeling, when that makes him happy, it makes me happy, of course. But I have to, intentionally try to soften myself and how I present myself as a wife to be like, you chose this man to be with you and him being one. So you have to do things as one. So just trying to open that up more and increase my wanting and desire for us to do things more together, I think is kind of how I boil it down to.
Yeah, this is so fascinating because typically it's the other way around, where the the wife is like, "Oh, he doesn't have time for me. He doesn't spend enough time for me. I don't feel like he wants to be with me." And so I'm loving this. I'm loving this dynamic here because, it's the other way around, but the premise is the same that we have to lean into the desires, the wants, the needs of our spouse, even if they don't align with what our desires, wants, and needs are.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street, and if we want it, we gotta give it.
Exactly. Exactly. So, yeah, that's what and I think that's what we're continuing to work on um, and then when I do it and yeah, it's unintentional, like I'm just like, "Oh, I want you to come do this with me." He's like, "Oh, I really love that you want me to come with you." Like he definitely and I'm like, "Oh, wow, like I did it." Like it just, it just makes everything better and yeah, so I love it.
And and let me just say, I'm imagining in my mind your husband. I've not met your husband, but by his position, I'm imagining he's easily what, 6'2", 6 how
He's
far
6'4" and like
he's 6'4", which means
yeah.
this massive man that's like, "I love it when you want me to, spend time with." I love that. Oh, I love that so much. That is so awesome and
Yes.
but it's telling and it's teaching as well because they need love too.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely, and then these men, even though they're in the NFL and they look little big and scary and when they're, hitting each other, yeah, but he's a big old teddy bear at the end of the day, and yeah, so he definitely needs love and wants it, and I'm happy I get to provide that for him.
I love that. That's so cool. I know I am corny when it comes to love. I love
I
relationships.
love it.
But yeah, so I'm all giddy over here. Okay, so the last thing I want to
Mhm.
close up with, and I always close up with this question for the wives because I feel like, and women, because I do interview women who are not married but desire to be married. I always ask from your perspective when you hear the phrase wife for life, what does a wife for life look like, feel like, act like, speak like? What is a wife for life from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I I think from my perspective, a wife for life is just being able to open yourself up to another person that you love, create this connection with, and that you're going to go through life together, the ups, the downs, the struggles. You're going to be willing to change and adapt. And then they're also willing to do that. But then, fight for that marriage or fight to be continuing to be a wife, because it's very, it's hard to, like, go through all of the hardships, and life is hard, and it's very easy to just walk away, and it's harder sometimes to stay and to fight and, um, to have to change, and so I think that, like, when you become a wife, you're also accepting all of those challenges, and you're gonna do everything that you can to overcome it, and, yeah, I think that it's kind of what it boils down to.
Yeah, yeah. All of what you said just speaks to longevity to me, and
Mhm.
that you sharing that because you know I did a post and it was a reflection of people going through challenges and
Okay.
people feeling like marriage is hard. And some of us even feel like, oh, it's supposed to be hard. And some of us feel like, oh, it shouldn't be hard or it shouldn't be this hard. But I think when we think about marriage being hard, we have to also think about developing, growing, maturing in our own right as hard because really that's what it is. It's forcing us to see our shortcomings
Oh, yeah.
and presenting it as okay, this is a choice. What you gonna do? You gonna work on it or you gonna keep suffering from it? And
Right?
so in this season of my life and my marriage, I've been most blessed by the choices I make to work with Michelle and how that impacts all my roles as a woman, as a wife, as a mother. So I appreciate what you said and just sticking it out and pushing through and working through it and doing what you need to do to make sure, that your marriage is successful because it can be if we are willing to do the work and
Absolutely.
stick in it. Stay in it.
Yes.
So
That is very true.
oh, thank you, Alexis. I'm so happy you joined us. Thank you for joining this like podcast.
Of course, thank you for having me, I had so much fun.
Yes, and hey, y'all, listen, show Alexis some love. Go on Snapback Returns. Download the app. Get your stuff returned. Cause man, I don't know about y'all, but I got so much stuff going on. So much stuff going on with having my own business and being a mom and now being a grandma. Oh,
Congrats.
so fun. Being a wife, so fun, right? But you got all the things, as we like to say now, all the things going on. Wouldn't it be nice to have the convenience of one less thing that you have to do? I mean, come on. I don't know about y'all, but it would definitely be helpful for me. So, listen, I am tardy for the party. I am downloading the app today, and I hope my parents do too. Thank you again, Alexis, for joining us. Thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Wife for Life. I hope you enjoyed Alexis as much as I have. And if you did enjoy this episode, I hope that you refer it to a friend, that you share it, that you comment. Guys, help me help us eliminate this 50%. Let's get it down to at least 45. We can do it as a community if we do it together. So thanks again for joining us, and I hope to see in my statistics that you are joining us again for another episode of Wife for Life. Have a great day and happy loving.